has done. Marigold 6F.
Oh, hey! Eli and I were just getting our garden started for the spring. It's one of our favorite things to do as a family, is to grow a garden. Something about working with nature to create something is just so relaxing and peaceful. And one of Jesus's last moves was to go to a garden. It was a place he went often with his disciples or alone when he needed to pray and feel close to Father God.
Oh, I remember that.
Now, we know from the other Gospels that Jesus knew that his death was coming soon, and he knew it was not going to be easy.
He was probably scared and anxious and lonely.
Right.
Yeah.
But he knew that he had to face this trial all alone. So, in our passage from John 18, 1 through 11, we see that he went to the garden to find some peace.
But that peace was broken in a violent way. Take a look.
After saying these things, Jesus crossed the Kidron Valley with his disciples and entered a grove of olive trees. Judas, the betrayer, knew this place because Jesus had often gone there with his disciples. The leading priests and Pharisees had given Judas a contingent of Roman soldiers and temple guards to accompany him. Now, with blazing torches, lanterns, and weapons, they arrived at the olive grove.
Jesus fully realized that all that was going to happen to him. So he stepped forward to meet them. "Who are you looking for?" he asked. "Jesus the Nazarene," they replied. "I am he," Jesus said. Judas, who betrayed him, was standing with them. As Jesus said, "I am he," they all drew back and fell to the ground. Once more, he asked them, "Who are you looking for?" And again they replied, "Jesus the Nazarene."
"I told you that I am he," Jesus said. "And since I am the one that you want, let these others go." He did this to fulfill his own statement. "I did not lose a single one of those you have given me." Then Simon Peter drew a sword and slashed off the right ear of Malchus, the high priest's slave. But Jesus said to Peter, "Put your sword back into its sheath. Shall I not drink from the cup of suffering the Father has given me?" Here we see Jesus as fully human and fully God. I mean, we know he was frightened and anxious, and he asked God the Father to take this burden away from him, but only if it was God's will. Just like Adam and Eve in Genesis, Jesus stands in a garden and he has a choice. He can do things his way and succumb to the fear and run away.
That's what Adam and Eve did.
Right. But instead, Jesus sticks to God's will, to God's plan, and allows himself to be arrested. Because even though he felt afraid and anxious and betrayed, he knew that God was sovereign. God's will is perfect, and his plan had to happen. Peter didn't get this memo, and that's why he foolishly pulled out his sword and used it on an innocent person. He tries to take control of the situation. But Jesus reminds Peter that God is in control. And the Gospel of Luke tells us that Jesus even healed the servant's ear. And that's what Peter didn't realize. Jesus was always in control. He could have stopped this whole thing at any time, but he didn't because God is sovereign and he knew that plan had to happen.
We forget that sometimes too.
We do forget that sometimes, but we pull out our swords and we try to take control of the situation for ourselves. Oftentimes, it would be better if we would just sit still and seek God's will. See, Lent is a great season to go to the garden in our heads and seek that peace of God. Because when we learn to let go of our fears and our anxieties and instead rely on God's sovereignty, well, that is when we can truly find peace, even in the craziest of circumstances. So this week, find that garden time and ask yourself these questions.
How does Jesus' full divinity and full humanity show itself in the Garden of Gethsemane? How does Jesus want to speak to your loneliness, anxiety, and fear today?
How have you felt betrayed in your life? What does Jesus' betrayal and the way he handled it speak to us about how we should treat our enemies?
What does sovereignty mean? Why should God's sovereignty comfort you?
In what ways have you pulled out a sword to defend your plans, timeline, opinions, and desires when God sees the whole picture of our lives and is in control? Find and seek God this Lent, and you'll be surprised at how much your peace will grow.
See you next week.